future is full of uncertainty. Will I hit a traffic jam on the way to work today? Will my toddler melt down in the cereal aisle of the grocery store? These are day-to-day known unknowns, and the outcomes will impact the rest of my day. Managing our financial futures is very similar, from unknown inflation to volatile revenue projections to increasing capital costs and regulatory changes, just to name a few. When every economist agrees on a 5-year inflation forecast of 2.5%, the one thing I can virtually guarantee is that it will not be 2.5% every year. When we say a capital project is going to be $5,250,600, I can guarantee that project will not cost exactly $5,250,600. The question becomes, what is the magnitude of this uncertainty, and what happens if things don't go as planned? Models are often used to help us estimate what the future may look like and to help us make decisions to meet our operational, investment, and overall funding needs. However, recognizing the uncertainty inherent in financial management, these models have lacked in their ability to evaluate various potential futures and multiple financial strategies. How will we meet our regulatory deadline if usage drops faster than expected? How will we modify our capital funding strategy if interest rates continue to rise? How much do we need to raise revenues to meet our funding needs if inflation proves persistent? Scenario analysis allows planners and decision makers to evaluate unknowns and make adjustments under different sets of assumptions about the future. While traditional tools have had little to no ability to compare scenarios, even those that could were severely limited. Stantec's Financial Analysis and Management System, or FAMS, was created to address exactly these challenges. Let's dive in and see how FAMS can help us adjust when we encounter a large and unexpected capital funding need. We'll do this by looking at a financial plan for a small wastewater utility. This model was populated with the utility's current fund balances, operating revenue and expense budgets, baseline capital plan, and existing debt service schedules. It also includes numerous baseline assumptions to turn these data into a 10-year forecast. Our example utility has about $4 million of available cash in the bank, about $3.5 million in annual revenue, and a total 10-year capital plan of a little over $6.5 million. Under this baseline scenario, we see the utility is looking at a plan of 2% rate revenue increases every year over the forecast period to maintain balances above the minimum reserve target and to bring revenues into alignment with total expenses by the final year of the forecast. We can also see we are meeting our capital funding needs with a variety of sources, including revenue and operating fund balances, debt, and other cash sources. For more details about this plan, we can shift to our capital program page to see exactly how our capital plan is being funded every year. We can also look at our capital plan at a categorical level to see the investment in different project types. While this scenario currently appears to be a sustainable plan, we know the future doesn't particularly care about our plans and circumstances can change. For example, let's say due to changes in water quality standards, we are required to make additional investments to upgrade our treatment plant to maintain compliance with the new standards. We can add this new project to our capital program in a few different ways. First, we can simply add a new row to our capital program table and add the project directly into the browser. Second, we can copy our capital program table to the clipboard, paste it into a spreadsheet, make our changes, and paste a revised table back into the browser. Lastly, we can upload our capital program using the data template with the new project added. After adding the project, we'll also define the funding rules for the project. FAMS is set up to allow for cash funding or debt financing using one of 3 debt types: senior lien, subordinate, and a third other debt type, each of which has distinct terms and assumptions. By setting our funding source override to optimize, the model will work through each of our funds and then use the final funding source for any unmet funding needs. For our initial scenario, we'll start by using solely cash sources, omitting our sewer availability fee funds, and set the final funding source to cash. Now we can save this version of our capital program so we can recall and create scenarios using this alternative. With this large project added to our plan, we recalculate the model, and unsurprisingly, our baseline plan no longer meets our needs. This is not where we want to end up, but this is a good point to save a scenario to reflect the updated state of the world and to serve as a point of comparison later. We'll name this scenario something like treatment upgrades cash. We can also provide a longer description to help us remember later what was included in this scenario. We now need to determine what our revenue plan would need to look like to get back to a sustainable forecast. We will adjust our rate revenue increases until we get to a plan that meets our funding needs and financial targets throughout the projection. For an initial test, we can simply clear the out-year increases to solve for just-in-time increases. By clearing out these inputs, this will allow the model to calculate the increases needed in each year to meet our key targets. We'll keep our current plan for 2% increases in year 2 of the model, and then, using just-in-time rate increases, we see that we can get by without additional increases for the first couple years. However, we will then be facing a very large spike once our balances have been drawn down and we continue to cash fund the majority of our CIP. Recognizing we would like to avoid shocking our customers with this kind of rate increase, we can smooth out our revenue increases to get to a balanced plan without the large 34% increase in one year, followed by additional large increases in the following years. If we modify this plan to include 3 years of 9% increases, we can produce a revenue plan that distributes the increases over multiple years and meets our targets without the rate shocks. However, we are now well above our revenue generation needs in the years following our treatment plant upgrade project. Obviously, we've ended up in a challenging situation with large rate revenue increases, but we'll save this scenario as another point of comparison. In the next video, we'll revisit this scenario and explore our capital funding options. We'll try to optimize our plan to minimize rate impacts to our customers.